Hello and welcome to Right Sports Talk. My name is Zach. We've officially made it through the wild card round of the NFL playoffs, and we are getting ready for the divisional round this weekend. In the wild card round, I went 5-1 with my picks. Now let's get into these picks for the divisional round. Divisional round kicks off this Saturday as the Houston Texans take on the Kansas City Chiefs. The Texans are coming off of their victory over the Los Angeles Chargers. And Kansas City is coming off of their first round bye that they got for being the number 1 seed in the AFC. In Houston's win over LA, their defense looked absolutely fantastic, picking off Justin Herbert 4 times, which is more interceptions than he had. There's more interceptions than he threw in the entire regular season. He only threw 3 interceptions all regular season. And this Texans defense was really able to kind of shut down that Chargers offense. These are two teams that did play each other earlier in the season. They played each other a few weeks ago, back in week 15. The Chiefs actually got a very close victory in that game, and the real big difference maker for them at that point was their defense. They were able to defensively limit Joe Mixon and slow down Nico Collins for the Houston Texans. In that game, actually Tank Dell was having a very good game for Houston until he ultimately got injured. So he's obviously out for this season, out for this game, the rest of the season with his knee injury. So I think this game could be very similar, in which I think the defense will be the real big difference maker. However, in addition to the defense playing well all season, the Chiefs' offense has really started clicking their last few games of the year, really, starting that last month or so. And we've reached the playoffs where this is kind of where the Chiefs' season starts for them, because they've made the playoffs so many times. And for some reason, when they get into the playoffs, they turn into a different team. They are a very dangerous team when they get to the playoffs. Patrick Mahomes, as always, is amazing in the playoffs. Travis Kelce can kick it into another gear once they reach the playoffs. And I said their offense really started clicking. They got Hollywood Brown back late in the season. He started playing well. Xavier Worthy, their rookie wide receiver, started coming into his own late in the season. The real question mark I have for them is their offensive line. Like, their interior offensive line is very good, but their tackles are the main concern that I have. As good as Joe Thuney, who is a guard, has played at left tackle, that's still not his natural position. And Jawan Taylor has not been playing great as their right tackle. They can play well. They've played well enough so that Patrick Mahomes can make plays. So my pick for this game is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. But I do think that the Texans can keep it close and could possibly win if their defense is really able to get after Patrick Mahomes with Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, and if their offense can get something going. But just based on how the Chiefs have played towards the end of the season, they have had some rest. Their starters haven't played since their starters haven't played since Christmas, when they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, because they didn't play any of their starters in the final week of the season. Obviously, had a bye week last week. But I still think that even with that rest, it's more helpful for the Kansas City Chiefs going into this game than it would be harmful for them to have not played. So I do think that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be able to make a few more clutch plays than the Houston Texans. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to, something's going to click for him. He's going to turn into playoff Patrick Mahomes. I think he's going to have a very good game. So I do think the Kansas City Chiefs pick up the win, and they move on to the AFC Championship game. Next up, you have the Washington Commanders taking on the Detroit Lions. The Washington Commanders are coming off of a last-second field goal win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the wild card round. The Detroit Lions, the NFC team with the first round bye, because They were the 1 seed for the NFC, so they're coming off that bye week. Both of these teams have very, very high-powered offenses. They're both offenses are averaging close to 30 points per game, and their defenses are both, I'd say, middle of the row, close to bottom of the pack, giving up around 20 points per game. So I do think this will be a very high-scoring game. They both have offenses that in the passing game can really turn it on. I think for the Commanders to have a real good chance in this game, Jaden Daniels should have a good game. I think he will have a pretty good game, especially with his ability to extend plays and run around. I think the main difference maker in this game is going to be the running game for the Detroit Lions. They are actually look like they were going to have David Montgomery back from injury, which is surprising considering the knee injury that he had. I think that will really be the difference maker. Not so much David Montgomery, but the Lions running game as a whole with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. This Washington defense gives up around 137 yards rushing to opponents. So I do expect Jahmyr Gibbs to have a very good game, as he is the very explosive runner, and as the number one back while Montgomery was out, he had some amazing games. His most recent game, Week 18, in their victory over the Vikings, Gibbs had 3 touchdowns. And in this game, Jahmyr Gibbs can, definitely be the explosive guy. And when you need somebody in short yardage and goal line, David Montgomery can be very good in those situations, even coming back from his injury. And for the Commanders, I don't think they have the run game to kind of keep up with the Lions. I don't think Jaden Daniels is going to be able to carry the team completely on his back without a run game. But towards the end of the season and even against Tampa Bay, the Commanders' run game with Brian Robinson really started to slow down, really started to be not very effective. The Lions also, this is the second game back. They're going to have their best middle linebacker, their best linebacker in general, and Alex Anzalone. I think that'll be help them really very much on defense. So I am going to pick the Lions to get the victory here. And I think this could be a very high-scoring game, but I think their dynamic duo of running backs and Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery will be the big difference. So I do see the Lions moving on to the NFC Championship game. Now, on Sunday, you have the Los Angeles Rams taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. The Rams are coming off of their win over the Minnesota Vikings, in which their defense had 9 sacks and also only gave up 9 points to that Vikings offense. And Philadelphia is coming off of a victory over the Green Bay Packers in the wild card, in which the Packers were able to keep it close for most of the game, but the Eagles defense was able to kind of get some key takeaways. I believe they had four takeaways in that game, and Saquon Barkley was really able to help run really clinch the game with some key runs. This is also 2 teams that played each other earlier in the season. They played each other, I believe it was week 12, and in that game, Saquon Barkley had, I think, 255 yards rushing, which really helped the Eagles get the victory in that game. So I don't think that, Saquon will be able to have quite that good of a game, have that big of an impact on this game. However, I do think that the offensive line for this Eagles team going up against this young defensive line for the Rams is going to be the big difference maker. So I do think that the Philadelphia Eagles get the victory here. I don't think that the Rams defense is going to be able to do quite as well against the Eagles offensive line as it did against the Minnesota Vikings defensive line. I do think that Saquon could still have a pretty good game, which is a pretty good game for Saquon Barkley is still over 100 yards, and probably a rushing touchdown. Defensively, this Eagles team is one of the better in the league, close to the top in the passing game. So I think that their corners will do a very good job of shutting down and slowing down Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, who has not had the best, especially Cooper Kupp, who has not performed well over the past month or so. And I think they're going to be able to slow down Kyren Williams. This game is also being held in Philadelphia, outside in the cold and possible snow, and I think that helps be the difference maker in this game, in which Saquon Barkley can very much carry the load for the team. And I think Jalen Hurts, if he just plays just well enough, where he doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes and doesn't have a whole lot of turnovers, I do think that the Philadelphia Eagles get the victory and they meet the Detroit Lions in the NFC Championship game. Now, the final game of the weekend, you have the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Buffalo Bills. I think this is the biggest game of the weekend. I think it is the game that could be the best game of the whole weekend. It's the one that I'm most looking forward to. So the Baltimore Ravens are coming off of a very big victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers, in which the Steelers didn't really look all that good, and the Ravens looked tremendous, running for almost 300 yards of offense against that Steelers defense. And the Buffalo Bills are coming off of their victory over the Denver Broncos, in which they scored 31 unanswered points, which they went down seven points early and then didn't give up any more points and wound up winning the game 31-7. These are two teams that also played each other early in the season. They played each other in week 4, and in that game, the Ravens and Derrick Henry were able to run all over this Bills defense. Derrick Henry had, I think, 199 yards rushing. And right off the bat, first play of the game, he had like an 80-something yard touchdown run. I don't really see it going that way again this time. In that game, the Bills were missing multiple key defensive players. I think the biggest one they were missing that they have back right now is linebacker Matt Milano. I think Matt Milano will do a very good job of not so much stopping Derrick Henry in the run game, but I think they can limit him a little bit. So I think Derrick Henry could have kind of a down game, and so Matt Milano, I think, can do a good job of slowing down Derrick Henry, and he is athletic enough to kind of keep up with Lamar Jackson to kind of contain him a little bit. If he tries to scramble around, if you're the Buffalo Bills, you want Lamar Jackson to try and beat you with his arm instead of Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson in the run game. It looks like the Ravens are going to be without Zay Flowers again, still dealing with his knee injury. So they're going to rely on Rashad Bateman and Isaiah Likely heavily in the passing game. So I think this Bills defense, their secondary, is good enough to kind of contain them in the passing game as well. Hopefully not give up any real big plays to Ravens wide receivers or tight ends Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. And I think this Bills offense is able to compete with anybody really in a shootout. So if the Ravens get out to a start fast, I think the Bills can kind of counter them. So I am going to pick the Bills to get the victory, and just because I trust this Bills offense. I trust Josh Allen can make really any play and is going to be able to carry this team to a victory. I think this defense, who has been very much improved for the Bills since getting people healthy, will be able to contain this Baltimore Ravens offense. As good as this Ravens defense has looked at the back end of the season, since they moved Kyle Hamilton to his true position of safety instead of trying to have him play a little hybrid safety combination, as good as they have looked, I think this Bills offense is going to be able to play very well. I think actually James Cook could be have a big impact in this game, especially since the Buffalo Bills love to play with 6 offensive linemen on the field, kind of as that 6 offensive linemen lined up as a tight end in the running game, bring in bigger bodies. So I think they could kind of power them a little bit, and then Josh Allen can make plays with his legs and his arm as well. So I do think the Buffalo Bills get the victory. I think the fact that this game is being held in Buffalo is a big kind of advantage for them. Just the Buffalo fans are very passionate, love the Bills. It's going to probably be a very loud environment, a very cold environment. Though the Ravens are also used to playing in the cold. But I think that the Bills can get the win here, and they move on to play the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game next week. Let me know in the comments who you guys think are going to win. Let me know which games you're looking forward to. Finish the playoffs, so pretty much all of them. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, see you.